population of America has increased 2%, and our spending has increased 55%. If we had discovered life on Mars, he would have sent it money. $1.6 billion went to dead people, and the checks were cashed. Obviously fraud. That Social Security would not share that information with any other department of government. So we passed a bill saying you have to share it with Treasury and other people who write checks, so we'll stop paying dead people. Duh.
Fellow patriots, welcome back to the channel where we expose the truth, push back on the corruption, and defend the principles that made this nation great. Today, we're talking about something that should make every taxpayer in America furious, and I mean absolutely furious. So I just watched a Senate hearing where Senator Kennedy grilled Russell Vought, President Trump's former budget guy, about the absolute mess that is our federal spending. And let me tell you, folks, we're in trouble. Big trouble. This isn't just about wasted money. This is about fraud, corruption, and a complete disregard for the hard-working American people who foot the bill. Let's dive into this, because what they talked about in this hearing is just the tip of the iceberg. You won't believe the madness that's going on in Washington.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Vought, welcome.
Thank you, Senator.
In my judgment, I do not know a single person in Washington or outside Washington who knows more about the federal budget than you do. I used to read your suggestions during President Trump's first term, many of which Congress ignored. We shouldn't have. I am delighted that the president picked you. I have read that since 2019, the population of America has increased 2%, and our spending has increased 55%. Under President Biden, I wish him well. If we had discovered life on Mars, he would have sent it money. Is that sustainable?
Senator, it's totally unsustainable, and the problem is that you go on these trajectories that we are currently on, and you don't know when you're going to get to the point of which you have some major problems as an economy and as a country, and we know that historically.
I hope you'll start with the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot. When we sent out stimulus checks to save our economy, $1.6 billion went to dead people, and the checks were cashed. Obviously fraud. OMB has estimated that in fiscal year 2023, we sent out $1.3 billion of checks to dead people, which were cashed. Obviously fraud. When you die in America, your name is sent to the Social Security Administration. As you know, you become part of the master death file. Senator Carper and I discovered that Social Security would not share that information with any other department of government. So we passed a bill saying you have to share it with Treasury and other people who write checks, so we'll stop paying dead people. Duh. We got pushback, believe it or not, on the bill. We had to agree to a trial period, and that trial period ends in 2026. Will you help us make that program permanent so we can stop paying dead people?
Yes, Senator.
Now, you've served in Washington for years. You're going to be challenging the status quo. You're going to be called crazy. Many people also called Noah crazy. And then the rains came. And all the fact checkers died. You have to persevere. Now, I'm not asking you to get ahead of President Trump. But if you were king for a day, tell me how you would save money in the federal budget without impacting the American people.
Thank you, Senator. I think it's the strategy that we had in the first term, which is to go really and take a very close look at the agencies that are spending and wasting money, and I believe weaponized at times against the American people. When they put a 77-year-old Navy veteran in jail, Joe Robertson, for 18 months for building 4 ponds on his ranch to be prepared for wildfires, that's the EPA. I think we have to look at that, and we have to look at the agencies that Congress has a vote on every single year through the appropriations process. And then I think we need to go after the mandatory programs that Senator Cornyn mentioned that are keeping people out of the workforce because they have become not just a social safety net, but they have become a benefit hammock, and increasingly so in the aftermath of COVID, as many of these policies were impacting people's decisions to go back into the workforce. And I believe, and because we produced budgets along these lines, you can get sizable levels of savings and reforms that can lead to a balanced budget and get us back headed in a fiscal trajectory, not only that we would all be proud of, but we could say, this is going to keep us from fiscal ruin.
My time's expired. Ella Porter, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay. Now's your shot. Thank you, Mr. Vought, for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good call there, young lady.
All right, here's the headline that should have every one of us banging on the doors of Congress. $1.6 billion, yes, billion with a B, of our taxpayer dollars went to dead people. That's right, folks, during the pandemic, when the government was doling out stimulus checks like Oprah handing out free cars, $1.6 billion ended up in the hands of people who were 6 feet under. And guess what? Those checks didn't just sit in some mailbox somewhere. Oh no, they were cashed. Fraud, plain and simple. People took those checks, knowing full well they weren't theirs, and they cashed them anyway. And this isn't just a one-time mistake. In 2023 alone, another $1.3 billion went to deceased individuals. I mean, are you kidding me? This is what happens when big government is allowed to run out of control. Here's my question for you, America. If the government can't even figure out who's alive and who's dead, how on earth are we supposed to trust them to run our health care, handle our education system, or manage anything else? It's insanity. Now, let's talk about how this happened. Senator Kennedy brought up something that should make your blood boil. When someone dies in America, their name gets added to something called the Master Death File, which is managed by the Social Security Administration. Seems simple, right? Share that information with the Treasury Department so they don't send out checks to people who've passed away. Well, guess what? The Social Security Administration refused to share the information. Refused. Kennedy and Senator Carper had to fight tooth and nail just to pass a bill forcing them to share it. And even then, they only agreed to a trial period that doesn't end until 2026. Let me get this straight. The government has no problem snooping into your bank account, monitoring your social media, and tracking your phone, but they can't pick up the phone and tell the Treasury that someone's dead? What kind of clown show is this? And let's be real here, folks. The only reason there was pushback on this bill is because someone somewhere is benefiting from this fraud. Whether it's bureaucrats protecting their turf or crooks exploiting the system, this is corruption at its finest. And we, the American people, are the ones paying for it. Now, let's zoom out for a second. Senator Kennedy made another great point. Since 2019, the population of the United States has grown by just 2%. But our federal spending? It's gone up by 55%. 55%. And who's responsible for that? President Biden and his cronies in Congress. Look, I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. Spending like this is unsustainable. You can't just print money and throw it at every problem under the sun. Kennedy nailed it when he said that if we discovered life on Mars, Biden would probably send the money too. And you know what? He's not wrong. This administration is spending money we don't have on things we don't need, and it's going to destroy this country if we don't stop it. Inflation is already out of control. Gas prices are through the roof. Groceries cost more than ever. And now we're finding out that billions of dollars are being wasted on fraud and mismanagement. Enough is enough. So what can we do about it? Russell Vought had some great ideas. He said we need to go after the agencies that are wasting money and sometimes even weaponizing their power against the American people. And he's absolutely right. Take the EPA, for example. They put a 77-year-old Navy veteran in jail for building ponds on his own land to prepare for wildfires. Are you kidding me? This is what happens when government agencies have too much power and zero accountability. And then there are the so-called mandatory programs that have turned into what Vought called a benefit hammock. These programs were supposed to be a safety net, but now they're incentivizing people to stay out of the workforce. After COVID, it's only gotten worse. We need to reform these programs so they actually help people get back on their feet instead of keeping them dependent on the government. Here's the bottom line, folks. Fiscal responsibility isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about freedom. When the government wastes money, they're not just wasting paper, they're wasting your hard-earned cash. They're taking away your freedom to decide how to spend your own money. If we don't get our spending under control, we're heading straight for fiscal ruin. Inflation will keep rising. Taxes will keep going up. And future generations, our kids and grandkids, will be stuck paying the bill for Washington's incompetence and corruption. We need leaders who are willing to make the tough choices. Leaders like Russell Vought and Senator Kennedy, who aren't afraid to call out the swamp and demand accountability. Patriots, this is a fight for the soul of our nation. It's time to hold our government accountable. Share this video. Contact your representatives. Demand that they stop wasting our money and start putting the American people first. And remember, a free and prosperous America starts with us. Stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop fighting for the values that make this country the greatest on earth. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. I'll see you in the next video.